So welcome back to part 2 of measuring this driveway. Now that we've captured the area and perimeter, we're going to actually capture now the volume measurement, which is capturing all the grade changes over all of the areas that we want to capture. That's going to help us then to work out our cut and fill values to see how much material we want to take off site or bring on site depending on what we're doing with the job. So the first thing we do is retrace our origin point from our A to B points. Now for this second part of the video, we've actually put some flags out so we can see where our original measurement was measured from. So in order to start this, the first thing we do is tap layers. This is now going to add a new layer as a volume measurement. So when we tap add layer, it tells us to retrace our A to B measurement. So the first thing we do is we'll wake our device, that gentle rotation turns red, we'll place it at the first point A. Now we'll walk towards point B. It doesn't have to be exact, we put the flag so we can place it directly at the flag, that's fine. Now, what we do at this point here is because we're capturing a volume measurement, we choose a path type called points. So whilst it's stationary here, tap points. This now becomes our point C. We've made this our point C because we've chosen points at this position. What that means is we're going to return to this at the end of the measurement, and that's going to give us the best accuracy. So let's start capturing now all of the grade changes. So we just literally walk and place. Same thing again, just make sure that you're keeping the device gentle rotation. You're placing it and keeping it still. And we just zigzag across, just concentrating on those 3 key techniques. Now you don't need to place it on every sort of area, you're just looking really where all the grade changes are, and it's going to give you a lot of information about how much to cut and fill from this site. So it's fairly flat at this point here, but we're capturing those grade changes as we start to come down into the property. So we'll just move it here. Notice how I'm keeping the device pointing the same direction all the time. I'm moving it gently, I'm placing it so it becomes stationary, and we just walk across and capture all of these. So it makes measuring so easy. If you imagine we had to try and work out the cut and fill values and the equipment that we need, with Moasure you can just put this in the back of your car, back of your van, and you're away. You're measuring it directly on site. You haven't got to bring equipment in at a later point. We can measure this right in front of our customer right now. We can show them exactly how much materials we need, and we can tell them exactly how much their area and perimeter is of their driveway. And we can see on the app that it's drawing all of these changes, and we can check each grade afterwards when we look at the measurement. Whenever you tap on any point that you've captured, it will give you all that information. It will give you the Z value to show you how much the height is from our origin point. So our Z value is always from our starting point position, which is where the first flag was. So we can see right here that we've got quite a lot of undulations where we're going to remove all this material. So again, just to capture as many or as little as you need, just concentrate on your pace, place, rotation, making sure that we're getting the full accuracy from the device. Slopes away a little bit here. Let's capture some of these. So we can see we've got our drain here. This is where obviously water is going to run into. So what you can do is if I tap in the middle there and hold it there, you've got a little pen icon. If I tap that, and I've got voice note here, so I can just tap on voice note, drain, and then it will actually record that. It's actually still recording the voice, but don't worry about that. We'll tap on that to finish. and we'll keep walking. We can edit that afterwards.
Bit of comedy, I like it.
But the important part is, of course, that we know that we've actually captured a label at that point, so we can see exactly where that drain is on the measurement afterwards. And that's all exportable as well. So now we're going to work our way back to point C. So we've captured all of these. We're just going to pause every 6 to 8 seconds, as is what's required with motion-based measuring. So you can see I'm placing it all the time in the green zone. We're not trying to move anywhere outside of the amber zone. We definitely don't want to go into the red zone. So we'll just capture a couple of extra points, one here. Remember, we're going back to point C. This is our point C over here. So our last point is going to be where we started. And now we stop the measurement. So now that we've completed that measurement, let's fix where we made the label where the drain was. So we can actually see, if we zoom in, it's highlighted in a different colour. It's orange. If we tap on there, and this was the centre of the drain. Now, obviously it recorded because I didn't stop the recording, so I don't want it to be called, it will actually be recording blah, blah, blah. So once we tap on that, tap on edit, scroll across to edit label. Now we can tap inside the text box and we can delete all of that. And we're just going to call it drain and apply. Now we've got that right there. We can see that, we can export that as long as we've got the right toggles on what we're doing. Now as we tap on it, you can see that it gives us our X, Y and our Z. If we tap on the arrows, it goes to each of the different grade changes, and we can see the X, Y, Z across all of those. If you want, you can tap on the drain, you can tap on cross section, and then you can cross section that to any other point. We can choose our point here, for instance, and it gives us the length, the rise, the run, the angle, and the gradient. So there's a lot of information right in here. We're in 2D view. Well, we're in 3D view right now. If I tap it into 3D mesh, we can see that the blue is the lower ground and the red is the higher ground. So right here, we're actually stood at the highest point, and then it starts to move away down that direction there. We've also got a contour view. So if we tap on contours, we can actually change this. There's a few contours right here. If we tap onto the settings icon, and as we delete the value, it needs to be at least 3%. So it's telling us the lowest we can put in is 0.076. So let's put that in right now, and you'll see that we get a lot more contour information across this whole site, which is absolutely amazing. You can look at it in 3D as well, and all of this is ready to export. You can simply export. You've got PDF, you've got CAD software, you've got so many options right here. So this is going to be saved. Now we've saved that. This has been how we measure a complete driveway, area and perimeter, and then we can add volume, which is all the grade changes, as a layer. And the beauty of having it as a layer means that if you need to do things in between your area and perimeter, you can go off and do them. You can go back a week later, 2 weeks later if you need to. If you capture it all in one measurement, which is you're able to do with Moasure, then if you make one mistake on your volume measurement, you've got to start the whole area and perimeter again. So hopefully that has given you some hints and tips on how we measure this driveway ready for cut and fill.